What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I am Jimmy, and welcome to our third ever Ramblers Roundtable. Welcome, guys. Thank you for joining us. Very much appreciated that we've all got together at quite short notice, if I'm quite honest. So we'll start with you, Tim, who looks like you're new to the Roundtable because you don't quite look like the Tim I spoke with last time. But how are you, mate? You okay?
Yeah, well, he's an holiday. I'm his brother. I've come in instead.
All right. Well, you're better looking. You're better looking. You've got a better setup because I think he filmed his last one in a microwave. So really appreciate you joining instead of him, Tim, because that Jim or whoever it was we were speaking to last time. And he's busy at this time of year, isn't he? I think it's one of his busiest times from what I remember. So.
Well, you see, when you've got a beard on, it takes less friction when you're coming down chimney. So that's why I've shaved it off.
Fair dues. I can appreciate that. That's commitment. Rich, good evening, pal. How are you?
I'm all right. You?
Yes, I'm good, mate. Thank you. I'm looking very festive. I'm not going to leave you out, mate. I've got my own hat. I think I best put it on. And I did sort of suggest if people wanted to wear the festive hats, they can do.
At least that one
stick
fits
mine
you.
on as well. Yeah, well, I'm not sure it does, mate, to be honest.
I've robbed this from the son's school bag.
Well, it suits you, mate. It suits you. I'm not here to judge. Mr. Man Mountain himself, welcome back to the round table, pal. How are you?
Evening, James. I couldn't be better. Broke up from school today, so happy days. We can't get a better feeling than this. 2 weeks off work. So
yeah, I'm going to say you look a bit old, but fair enough. Nice one, mate.
Cheers,
nice
pal.
one.
Thank you.
I'll pay for round.
Absolutely. And making his round table debut. Not to build this up or anything, Jay, but don't mess this up, mate. How are you, pal? Welcome, Jay.
I'm good, thank you. Exactly the same. I've blown for Christmas, and I feel a lot more positive than I did if you asked me to do this about 4 or 5 weeks ago. I think you would have picked me up off the floor, to be honest. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, we're here to have fun today and talk. Well, Chris Wilder's back, so everything's good in the world, isn't it? So that's, we can get into that. And the man himself, Mr. Straight Talking with Carlton Palmer, Dave Leary. Thank you for joining us, Dave.
All right. No hat for me, but I've Christmas jumper, I
love how I give you a massive build up and you went, all right.
That's stay humble.
Stay humble, mate. No, for those of you that haven't seen it yet, please do go and check out his podcast with Carlton Palmer and friends. There's a couple of episodes already out. You've got a few in the works, haven't you, as well, Dave, from what I understand, mate. So
we'll be back in the new year.
I shall look forward to that. Right, fantastic. So we've just got together today since we're all in a very festive, jovial mood. It's been such a wonderful season so far that I thought we need to brighten ourselves up a little bit, all get together, talk about everything Sheffield United. I thought we'd try and be a little bit light-hearted with it as well. First question I'm opening up with, and anybody can answer this one, just for a disclaimer as well for anybody watching. I was lucky enough to be invited onto Blades Evan podcast on Radio Sheffield, and this is a direct lift from all the questions I got asked because I thought they were great questions from Adam Oxley, and I am shameless in the fact that I am just rinsing and repeating their format for this. But I thought they were that good questions that I thought it would be relevant for some of our Ramblers. So the first question I was asked, and I want to ask you guys, if Chris Wilder could have any player from Blades history as a Christmas present for his current squad, who would it be and why? And I'm going to throw it first to Jay.
Yeah, for me, one of the best memories of being a Blade is the triple assault back in 2002, 2003. Such a good season. I remember a little lad on corner stand. But for me, it's Michael Brown. Just to epitomise what Sheffield United were that season. We weren't the best squad in the league, but we went toe-to-toe with some really big clubs in the Cup. And it was all about that guile. It was about everybody working for each other. And again, Michael Brown epitomised that with some of the goals he scored as well. That cracker against Wednesday.
It's bouncing around. Monk gets it away. All he can do, Monk, is head it towards Michael Brown. Look at the technique.
At laying that half volley that were just phenomenal. And I think somebody like that who can play across the park, got a good eye for a pass, but also isn't afraid to shoot. We saw from Macca at Brentford, at Lane when we played Brentford, just somebody take a shot. And so for me, 100% it's Michael Brown on that one. And if I can tag Tongi in there as well, and probably quite a few of those lads. I'd probably bring them all in actually. But
Jags, yeah, just chuck a few in, yeah.
yeah,
Well,
just a few.
That is a great shout. And to be fair, I was watching Beer and Breakfast before we came on from Shoreham View, and Johnny said exactly the same. So he was saying that we could really do with a Michael Brown type player in this squad currently. So, yeah, great minds and all that. I'm going to go to Rich next. Who would you want to bring in if you could have any player, past or present?
Like Joe, I was watching some old videos and I could fancy Brian Dean. Brian Dean in this squad would be a decent shout, I think, especially in his prime.
Absolutely. Could do a little bit of everything, couldn't he, Dino? Hold it
Yeah.
up well. He were quick, strong, could score from with his head, with his feet. Yeah, good player. One of my dad's favourite players. Oh,
Him with Archer would do some damage, I can tell you that.
absolutely right. Paul, what's your thoughts, mate?
Well, I've nicked 2 of my 3 anyway, so that's good. So yeah, I think Michael Brown's really obvious, especially as Jay looks like a youth compared to some of his old heads. Brian Dean for the old men, I'd say, is a fair shout. We haven't had a striker like him really. Like you say, he could do a bit of everything. I think it's good description. I like Tony Agana as well when he used to play alongside him, which was again quite a few years ago. But yeah, he's a fantastic striker, and I think that the reason that I would have plumbed for Dean out of my little list would have been because at this level you can't buy goals. They're just priceless, aren't they? At the end of the day,
Absolutely.
I think with the position that we're in with Wes, I also put Alan Kelly on my list because I think he's our best goalkeeper that we've had in my lifetime. So I thought him probably because of the predicament we've got a bit with Wes, which my opinion obviously hasn't changed on Wes from the last time we spoke. And
no, man, mate.
As
you know,
I think, to be honest, mate, I don't want to sound smug, but we called it, didn't we, a little bit with him? Those were the only 3 that really. There was a few others, and obviously I chuck a Garner in for the old boys, but I don't think there's much else we could ask for other than those 3.
Tim, who's your call?
Bearing in mind that Wilder thinks about people that are passionate and think about the shirt and all that. Alan Woodward. We've got to go to Alan Woodward.
I thought you were going to go for main man, number 10.
No, Alan Woodward.
Alan
Woodward on the wing, people used to sing.
Absolutely. You can sing to us now, Tim, or you can save it for when we finish. It's up to you,
No,
mate.
not without my teeth in.
Okay, no worries. Did they take your teeth out when they took your beard off as well?
I knew Tim could trump my old man chat. I knew it. Well done, mate.
Oh, thank you for that, Tim, mate. Dave, I've left you till last, mate. So sorry if your thunder's been stolen.
Oh, Paul took mine, so I'm going to say Alan Kelly. I think I'll go for the obvious game changers in TC and Illiman.
Yeah, I was surprised nobody went with Illiman. Spoiler alert, I went with Illiman on when I were asked the question myself. Any of those players plugged into our team now does an absolutely brilliant job, don't they? I think I would argue, and listen, I were around for Alan Kelly, but I would argue Dean Henderson was a better keeper. Maybe not the longevity. I think Dean Henderson maybe pips him. I think there's some. I don't know.
No, I don't. I don't agree with that.
I think for me, Dean Henderson's character, I think that's quite infectious more than anything. Again, screaming from back, not like Pickford. Pickford screams too much, but for me, I liked his attitude, and he just seems to fall in love with the club. I think his injury problems, obviously, that have happened since then, have kind of hindered his career. But he's got such a promising future. I've got a lot of time for Dino. I think he did us such a service when he was here.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. And it's hard, isn't it, not to have a connection. Yeah,
still hurts. They both. Still
I know that's true. That's true. Yeah, because
I don't think they quite made legend status like the others. I don't think they quite had that.
I think that's fair. They didn't have the longevity, did he? That those. You could chuck Simon Tracy in there as well, couldn't you? As well. I know what you mean. That's fair. That's fair. So. I think this were a tricky one. And I think, Paul, you were the only one that said you might have either the best Blades present you've received or given or the best bit of Blades merch that you own. So you've built this up, mate, and I'm going to expose you for it in the stream. So I hope this is worth it. Drum roll. I'll probably try and edit a drum roll in.
Well, I don't know about drum roll. Feels a bit much, but I was donning this as I came on before. This is my Sheffield United dressing gown. with the badge on there.
Nice.
And it was bought for
Nice.
me about a year and a half ago. I thought it was. You said it was going to be cash. I didn't know if it would be this cash or not.
Mate, you relax, mate. You're at home here.
Mate, when it's on, this is the most comfortable dressing gown I've ever had in my life, and I won't jest to you. This is just marvelous. The number of times I fall asleep on my settee with this on, it's insane.
Is it a club shop special then? That
sure is. Yeah. It was bought from the Blades Direct. Indeed,
right. Nice. There you go. You've done a good sales job for them there. I might get you on board to promote Ramble merch as well, if that's all right.
You never know what you're going to get, do you? But it's really nice quality as well. So yeah.
To be fair, I bought. You might have seen me wear it on Ramble a couple of times. It's like a teal hoodie with Blades logo on it, and that's really good quality as well. I really like that. So, yeah, well done, Blades Superstore, for getting the decent gear in. Right, back to matters on the field. Tim, what was your highlight from 2023, my friend?
I think one of my highlights, it's still an highlight really, and that's how James McAtee's progressed towards the end of last season and this season as well.
Great shout. Yeah, because everybody harkens back to that game at Luton where he were hooked, rightly so as well. I think I sort of talked in an earlier ramble about how everything that you say is recorded and you have to be accountable for everything. So there's no hiding places for me who's got my opinion out there. And I'm pretty sure that I said around that time, he's not good enough. He's a boy trying to play in a man's team. And from that point on, the Luton game particularly, I remember he's just got better and better. I'm not so sure. We maybe look back at it through rose-tinted glasses like that were a sliding doors moment for him. Maybe we're just trying to sweeten that in our own minds a little bit. I think he gradually got better and better as the season went on. But I think that's something that I've not heard mentioned yet, Tim, to be fair. And it's a very valid point that he has seemed to get better and better. I think he's been a bit stop-start this season. But hopefully he's sort of working his way into the wilder way of playing. And yeah, fingers crossed.
I think when you're that type of player, though, I think that there's always days when that happens. You know what I mean? If you're not...
Yeah.
Lots of players can get by just working really, really hard. And then hopefully they get into the game and they start playing well. But when you're in, you're almost like USP is that you're going to be making those killer passes, or you're going to be dribbling past 2 or 3 players.
Yeah.
And even if you're a little bit off it, you're just not. You go from being like a 9 to like a 5 very quickly, because he didn't have quite enough in the bank at that point, did he, for us to go, oh, we'll see him what he's doing second half, because he could come good, because he was a bit of an unknown quantity to us, wasn't he? So
yeah, that's
fair.
A bit
unlucky.
Yeah, that's fair, mate. What were yours then, Paul? What were your highlights from 2023?
Oh well, I put a little video. I took the boy to the Burnley match.
Incoming. Oh!
Brilliant.
Yeah, and we were right down where they kept coming over and celebrating when we were pegging them back. And we'd had was it Benson, their winger, down our
right hand side.
Was it our right?
Our left hand side. They're right. Yeah.
Right. I was like, that's it. Ender's finished. I said that was Ender's last game, as far in my head, as far as I was concerned. And Robinson couldn't deal with him at all. Could he? He made that mistake. But then in the second half, because he'd been over to us, giving us this and been a bit mouthy. That was lovely. That was when we were knocking him in. Their goalkeeper. I mean,
no, Muric. I remember it well, mate. I remember it well.
I was like, get those balls in that box quick.
Robinson taking net off. It was just brilliant.
Yeah, it was superb.
So good. So good. Yeah, great shout that. Dave, what's yours? What's your highlight, mate, from 23?
I'd say the cup run. So I'd either pick out Illerman's goal against Spurs, just for pure emotion at the time of it going in, or Tommy Doyle to send us to Wembley. I think either of those two moments were just unbelievable.
I think that might get a shout in next one, because I'm going to ask goal at you, so you can include those in your shouts if you want, because I think you'll be hard pressed to beat a moment in terms of a goal like that. I think, McAtee's goal at Brentford might come into it. I liked Cameron Archer's goal against Wolves just because of the early strike, instinctive sort of. But I'm a bit of an Archer fanboy, as we all know. That I agree with you in terms of that Tottenham game, because you look at the team that we put out. And I think we'd sort of not thrown it away, but we just sort of said, well, they're going to play a second team, but their second team is still international stars. And we'll just try a few kids out and see how they go. And Andre Brooks coming in and Koulibaly coming in and playing well, to be fair. So, yeah, it were more the shock that we were able to pull it off without our best team out there. I think Billy Sharp started the game, and good shout that, Dave. Good shout, mate.
Anything that gets you dancing with a random person next to you that you don't know when a goal goes in.
You always know you're having a good time. You always know you're having a good time when that happens, when you start dancing with strangers. I was doing it last time I did that from memory were Ben Davis's goal last minute against Blackburn. And I was right up front, ran down to the front, and me and this randomer are just dancing with his arms up and down. And, there wasn't even any music going. I don't know what was going off, but anyway, that's by the by. Rich, what's your favourite highlights from 2023, mate?
2023, I've got 4 listed, actually. So the Robinson's goal for Burnley, that one against Burnley, that just from...
He did score for Burnley as well, I think. Didn't he?
Well, exactly, yeah, but for us. Just the redemption of from being like rock bottom in the first half to being like hero in the second.
Absolutely,
Doyle's goal against Blackburn was one of the best.
Yeah.
But the one that no one's mentioned yet is Hamer's first goal away at Forest.
Yes.
I think that one was a peach of a goal. Arguably, might be controversial, is probably better than McAtee's, I still think. But I think,
very similar.
I think Hamer's goal was a lot better, but that's just
not
just
one got us 3
a lot
points,
better.
A lot better.
Yeah. 3 points makes it a little bit sweeter, doesn't it, with Mac? I suppose, but technical ability. Those two players, and the fact that Hamer's our player as well. Those two, their technical ability is off the charts, really, in terms of what they could go on, particularly McAtee, in terms of where he could go on to be. But Jay, highlight from 2023, pal.
For me, it was, I don't know, they've got the promotion run and everything else, but it's beating Wrexham. I now hate Wrexham. I cannot stand Wrexham. I can't watch it. Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, apart from that, go and do one. The narrative before those 2 games was just absolutely ridiculous. And they had us as the underdogs. They showed us no respect. The media showed us no respect at all. It was all about Wrexham this, Wrexham that, Wrexham this, Wrexham that. So when Billy Sharp scored that goal, I ran labour. And oh my God. The feeling at that point, watching all those, and again, their away following were fantastic. I can't say anything about the away following, but to wipe that smug little smile off their faces was the most beautiful thing I have ever seen at Bramall Lane for a couple of seasons.
I agree, Jay.
If I was doing Paul figure right now,
Jay,
I'd be sticking pins in it because I just don't like him. I don't like the whole setup, the Hollywood style of it. It just everything against what we are. We're a working club. We're a working men's club. We're an honest club, and they're all glitz and glamour. So yeah, I could go on for ages. So if you ever want to do a ramble about how much I hate Wrexham, 2 hours, 45 minutes, an hour's worth of credits, and a cutscene at the end.
It's the only time I've ever seen my wife swear at a football match.
Really?
Oh yeah. She gave him some right stick. It was brilliant. I loved it.
Brilliant.
It's a tin pot project, mate. It's a fad. They'll get bored.
They will get bored. They will get bored when they're stuck in League One and can't get up or down and can't spend what they need to spend. They're gone, and then they'll say that they left them in a much better, which they will have done, left them in a much better place than they took them on. But how much does it cost them to get there? It's. But I don't get why it's deemed like a Hollywood underdog story when you go into a non-league side and pump millions into it to make them the ultimate corporate conglomerate, if you like, and take over the league. How is that the underdog story that Wrexham have done good? It's not, is it?
It's the American underdog story. That's the thing. It's the American underdog story. It's their glitz and glamour.
Crazy, mate. Crazy. Okay, Dave, I'm going to come to you first with this next one. This is looking into the future. This is the Ramble looking into the future and what we think. Will the Blades still be in the Premier League this time next year?
No.
Right, I'm going to just get one-word answers from everybody at me. Tim?
I've got a bit more.
Tim? Yeah, I'll give you a bit of time in a sec. Tim?
Yeah, I believe so.
Rich?
No.
Paul?
I hope not. No,
You hope not?
I hope not.
Okay, I'll come back to you, don't worry. Jay?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Dave, I went with you first, mate. So come on then. What's your thoughts?
I think we're just a little bit too far. I think we've made the change too late. I think this mini league is getting smaller. I don't think we'll finish bottom by any means. I think Burnley will finish bottom, and I actually think we'll probably get 18th. But I think it's just going to be a little bit too much for us to stay up in the end. But we'll not go down with a whimper, and we'll probably look back at it and think what might have been if we'd have just been brave enough to make the change that bit sooner, because I think we lost out on points that might have just done it.
I agree. The Bournemouth and Burnley games were pivotal, weren't they?
I agree with that, because I think the season before we kept on to Sylvester a bit too long. And again, Eki, that season did end up running us to playoffs. If it were just 2 or 3 games before, 4 games before, it would have made a big difference. I totally agree. And again, watching the Ramble and other podcasts, etc., we should have got rid of Eki after the 8-0. I think we're going to rue that decision.
Yeah, maybe so. Tim, I think we'll do it.
I do think we'll do it.
I love that. Love that optimism.
The thing is, when you see the difference between how we were and how we are now, second half at Chelsea, we messed it up. I know we did. But up until that point, we got that energy and passion and run forever sort of thing.
It's difficult to I love, everybody knows what I think about Chris Wilder. I think if anybody can save us, it'll be Wilder. But we just left it a little bit too late, like Dave says. And the fact that we did have that, it weren't a capitulation against Chelsea, but we ran out of gas. We didn't have the quality the strength in depth to bring on and keep those levels, and players started switching off, and I don't think we're fit. I don't think we're as fit as we should be. Part of me is desperate to say absolutely yes. A bit like Jay we're doing, I think. I'd love it, and I want to say yes, we'll survive. But really, if you're talking with your head, it's unlikely, I think, unfortunately. But look, I'd love to be proved wrong. Rich, what's your thoughts, mate?
I'm a bit like you, Jimmy. I'm flaky. When Wilder came in and beat Brentford, it's like, oh yeah, brilliant. But then it started to rear its ugly head at second half at Chelsea with all the. He sort of touched on it in his post match about players not sort of doing their own thing, and I looked at the goals, and you can see what he means by that. Like you say, the 2 pivotal games there were Burnley and Bournemouth, and the players just down tools, didn't they? So
to be fair, one man called it that it'd be given till at least December, and that was you, Paul. I remember in last Ramble, everybody was saying, no, he's got to go before that. He's got to go, and you said, rightly or wrongly, I think he'll at least get till December time. Nailed it. Absolutely nailed it, because you weren't saying you thought he should. You were saying you think he might. So, and there's a big difference there. So,
yeah.
What's your thoughts, mate?
Well, the reason I gave that response, and Blades fans might shake their heads at me for saying I want us to go down, and I'll open this can of worms for everybody to talk about. And I'm sorry to deviate from the plan, but the refereeing in Premier League football right now is beyond ridiculous for me. I think half the matches I watch, I'm literally shaking my head at the absolute garbage that they are producing week in, week out. When there's an handball in the box, you could literally pull a number out of an hat to say whether it's going to be given or not. I see him given, I see him not given, I see penalties given, I see game changing, result changing. You know, if I were a Wolves fan at this point, God knows how I'd be thinking, because they are getting shafted week in, week out. And it's all the Premier League at the minute is a mess for me in terms of a spectator quality experience. I think it's diabolical, and I actually much prefer watching Championship football. I've much preferred us in the Championship, simply because I don't think Wilder's been given the tools to do the job. I've said that all along, I think. Or the manager has not been given the tools to do the job.
Yeah.
And for us, it's a bit of a thankless task. If you're going to concede possession like we are going to in every single match, the opportunities for us to get shafted over by a bad refereeing call or a lack of VR intervention, or it just gets bigger and bigger. I seldom enjoy watching Premier League football at the moment, and I think that we'd be best served as a club to not reward the Prince with a big sale like we've got. I think we're at the minute with the squad that we've got, we're a Championship squad with a few decent players in that we'd probably still be up there challenging for the Championship title. I still believe that with the squad we've got. Don't get me wrong. But we've got, for the first time ever, about 10 or 12 young players who are coming through. We are a dominant side at that level. We've got good young players coming through for the first time ever. I can see us. We've got forwards. I've got them listed. Ryan Oney, Louis Marsh. We've got Harry Boys. We've obviously got Will Asula and Brooks, who've made the team now. We've got Frecklington. We've got we've got all this young talent. Arblaster, who's obviously injured at the minute, but we've got two. For me, there could be 4 or 5 in that group that are going to form the backbone of our squad for the next 10 years if we tie them down and we do it properly. And my opinion at this point is that they'll only get that opportunity to go in and do that if we're at Championship level, because I still believe with them and a sprinkling of some of the others, we'd still be contenders to go up. Because at the moment, unless we get investment, and the Prince goes and we get investment, I just can't see us surviving. I think Chris will give us a really good shout of it, and we'll have those good days like we've had. But will it be enough? Looking at the teams who are just sort of pulling away from us at the minute, I can't see us surviving, but I do think going down could be a massive, massive opportunity. And for the criticism that Wilder had a little bit for not bringing through young players, he's already proved he's willing to do that, and he's been brave with a couple of them already. And we've sort of seen the payback for that. And I think that could be a big opportunity for a lot of young players at Sheffield United next season if we do go down. And that's kind of where my head is. And like I said, I'm not enjoying watching it at the minute. I don't enjoy watching a lot of Premier League games. I'm just waiting for a massive clanger from a ref at any given minute, and every match seems to be the same.
I'm with you, Paul. When you saw that Núñez tackle for our second goal against Liverpool, I've watched 3 or 4 that have been pulled up for a foul on that, and I'm like, I turn around to my missus, who was a Liverpool fan, and say, well, that one for Núñez should have been disallowed. And it's, there's no consistency, is there?
What's your thoughts on that then, Jay?
Yeah, no, to be fair, I think sometimes the journey's better than the destination, to be honest. A well-known chant that we sing quite often, which I won't repeat because of PG ratings, I agree. Some of the decisions, and we're not a fashionable club. And I think that's why, again, conspiracy theorist in me, feels that's probably why some of the decisions don't go our way. Coming on to, like I said, if we're going to survive or not, that says yes. Yeah. And that says yes after a couple of beers, and it is Christmas. but for me, we need to make Bramall Lane the fortress. We've got Luton, West Ham, Brighton, Fulham, Burnley and Forest at home still to go. For me, those are must-win games. Every single one of them are must-win games. We've still got Bournemouth, Wolves, Palace, Brentford and Everton away. Again, can we get something out of them? I am being ultra optimistic. And again, if we reflect in Ramble's chat, come end of season, like, yeah, you were totally wrong. But the optimism in me, I'm a blade. I'm a realist, but there's a part of me that just wants it. But I totally agree with what Paul's just said. I think the Premier League definitely needs to take a good hard look at themselves, really. And they're not giving the best advertisement for English football throughout the world. I think it was on TalkSport where how many of our referees are going to make any international tournament coming up?
Well, it's tricky, isn't it? And there's been an argument made for why we've got the best players in the world with one of the most attractive leagues in the world. Why aren't we bringing the best referees in from all over the world? And I don't know why they're not doing it. I'm loath to criticise refs. I know I went to school with one at refs, and he's a good lad, and I don't want to go in hard on him, but you cannot get away from the fact that there is so much inconsistency McBurnie gets sent off for saying he's pulled my shirt, a second booking for that. But like you said, Nunes scissors round from behind Jayden Bogle, and we don't even get a free kick. I can't get my head around some of the decisions. I think the problem is referees are scared to make big calls now because they know that they've got a safety net of somebody who's going to pull them on it. And because of their reluctance, that's why they're accepting of somebody else's decision in a VAR room who can watch it for a second, third, and fourth time, relying on the technology rather than reffing the game and being supported by the technology. So,
but there's that many mistakes. Why aren't they just hooked up to somebody who the referee referees the game, and and someone on the video ref just goes, "If just hang on a second, I'm just going to have a look at this for a sec."
Yeah.
And just do it that way. There's corners that go off. That we had a corner, didn't we, at Chelsea that just clearly flicked off the defender's head.
Yeah.
It was a corner, and I said, "So why hasn't someone just gone? Oh yeah, the defender's flicked that
In his earpiece.
It's a corner."
Yeah.
And that should be a 3 second.
But then that's where in the women's Women's World Cup they were being all mic'd up and you can hear the communication, and that's where I think that's where they should add that too. They should be doing that. They should be communicating to all of us that this is our. Yeah, I've heard that. We'll do that. So,
this is the thing. Every decision has massive implications, and in terms of financial value as well. Not just like your team winning or not, staying up, going down, your position at league, going in cup. All these decisions are absolutely terrible. And for me, it's the lack of direction. They are adjudicators of the rules, but there's that many different objections, and there's that many different people speaking in different ears at the moment. I don't think they know their bottom from their elbow at the moment.
Nice. You could come on again.
And this is the thing. Go back to the noughties when there weren't no VAR, there weren't no goal line technology. We weren't speaking about refs as much. You just took it on the chin. You'd have some games where you come out after
human error.
Yeah,
the goal line technology was the only one I liked because I love the fact that the players would run up to the ref like this, and the ref would just go like that. And the players would be like, "Oh yeah, we can't argue anymore. We've got to run back and do what we need to do."
Yeah.
So when it don't work,
and then that's
not a subjective decision, is it? That's not an opinion. It's either cross the line or it ain't. So,
but there's one the other day, the ball on the edge of the line there, and they didn't know if it was in or out, and they had to have a 7-minute replay saga about 3 things that could have been a penalty. I was like, oh, this is absolutely killing us, and it should be quite straightforward to know if a ball's out or in. There should be cameras for that, really.
Yeah, but for me, it's like in all our jobs. If you had somebody in your ear constantly at you, you're not going to have that confidence to make and the assertion to make your own decisions. These referees are very experienced, but they've got somebody in their ear constantly.
It's like being married.
Wife's not in the room then, Jimmy. She's upstairs. She's out of earshot.
She's out.
Well,
she's out.
Jade, my only thing for that is it's American football. Have you ever watched that?
Yeah. My dad's a big fan.
I've managed to learn how that works over the last 3-4 years. I quite enjoy watching it. And the video refereeing and what they look at there, it's really efficient. And the conversation, they talk to the crowd, you can hear what they're saying between each other. It's just done really, really well. And just the Premier League is just the worst. I can't believe what they're doing. They're making a right mess. Anyway,
as usual, mate, I agree with an awful lot of what you say, and I think the fun certainly is in the chase of getting to the Premier League, like Jay was saying. We've got to do everything we can to stay in Premier League because at some stage, for every Fulham that eventually gets there, or Brentford, there's a Stoke City or a Sunderland or somebody who gets stuck and can't quite get going again. And we've been there. We've been down to League One. We were stuck in League One. A different conversation as to whether you want to be the next Crystal Palace or not, because I think there's a lot of negatives to be in that as well. You know, what are you fighting for every season? You know, you win a game, you lose a game. You draw a game, you lose a game, you win a game. It's just mediocrity. But we are essentially trying to get to that level because we want to establish ourselves in Premier League. Dave, what's your thoughts on where we should be? It's clearly more fun in the Championship when you're one of the stronger teams in the league. But
you're right. I think we have got to aim to stay in the Premier League. But I don't like the way the fixtures are set out, that we can be playing it. You know, it changed all the time, any day of the weekend.
Agreed.
I miss Saturday, Tuesday. It's disheartening when you're not getting stuff and you don't feel it's fair. But we've been in League One. We've been in League One for a few years, and that was the most miserable that I can ever remember being as a Blake. And I don't want to go back.
That wasn't my point. My point being, I think we need if we're going to do it, I think we deserve better than what we've been given. I feel like we deserve a little bit better. And look at Jimmy's face. I know he's got a big interview coming. I do. He knows how I feel about it.
I do, mate.
A little bit better than where we are when we look at the opportunity that the managers have been given. Wilder's in there. He's the one that can do it. I said that. We said that. Loads of us said that.
Yeah. I've got your question, mate. Don't worry. I've got your question.
Players.
I'll be putting your question to him. Don't worry.
He deserves better players, mate. He deserves a few more, because we're not far off. We are not far away. I think we're 3 players away from being genuine. We could go and challenge so many teams with just a few more better players and the fight and determination.
I agree. Which is, from what I understand, and I don't know an awful lot, but we are going to have a go in January. And I don't mean we're going to chuck a lot of money at it, but I think there's going to be a lot of changes. And I think we could maybe do with 5 or 6 out, and like you said, probably 3 quality players in at least. And with that,
Jimmy, if you're not going to pay for them, like I was thinking this earlier, if we're not going to pay the money, which we're not going to pay the money. We're not going to challenge people on other teams on wages. We're not going to challenge teams on transfer fees. We're willing to pay a bit for transfers, but on wages, we don't really compete with 95% of this division. You know, Luton, we probably trump, and they're the only ones. So we are shopping in shops where all the other 18 teams, other than Luton, I'd say, have already gone, not really good enough for us. And if you're working on that basis, again, we're looking at Wilder to turn water into wine again.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. I don't disagree with that. And I think that's the way we've chosen to take it on into it in terms of clearing the debt, whether we agree with it or not. And I think that's massively weakened us. I think it's been sold as like a longer term plan for the club, whether you agree with it or not, in terms of let's clear the decks this season, do absolutely everything we can to stay up. If we don't, then we can have another go at getting back. But difficult, because I could also, playing devil's advocate, I could throw at you 20 million quid for Ollie McBurnie, 23 million quid for Ryan Brewster. When we've had the money, and that's Wilder as well. I'm not sort of copying him out of that. But when we've had the money, we haven't always spent it wisely. You look at players like Jack O'Connell, John Egan, George Baldock, the players came up with us, to be fair. We had to sort of shop in those markets, then we were forced into it. But we're asking a lot of him to get them sort of similar players of a similar ilk.
Okay,
but
Jimmy,
have to do.
My point when they were signed was that we as a fan base were really happy. And the reason we were really happy was because Ollie McBurnie was guaranteed 20 goals in the Championship. He was great in the air. He brought something to the team that we didn't really have, and it didn't work for him necessarily. Ryan Brewster, we signed him because he's on low wages, and Liverpool weren't going to sell him for free. He was an England under-20, under-21 international. He had all the pedigree going for him. I think he has been unlucky, and it's a gamble that hasn't worked.
I agree.
But what we have to appreciate, and I know Wilder gets criticism for some of those signings, is we have to deal in markets where other sides aren't going to go, and we get there through paying maybe a little bit over on the transfer fee, maybe to secure those types of players. McBurnie was one of the top 2 or 3 strikers in the Championship. Ryan Brewster was arguably one of England's most promising talents when we signed him, and the reasons that we signed him were that he didn't want 50, 60, 80,000 pound a week, and we could get him for 35 grand a week. And that's the same thing with Sanderberger, and it was the same story. And I just feel like as long as we're shopping in those markets, we're shopping for prospects, we're shopping for hopeful. We were hopeful that Ollie could go to the next level and start scoring over 15 goals for us. That's what we hoped as a fan base. And he was probably the pick of the Championship strikers that we could have asked for at that point. And if we didn't get him, like Ollie Watkins, for example, it's because Villa offered him twice the money. It was like we were in for those players, but why would they come to us when they can earn double and go to what is arguably a more established, bigger club who's going to pay them more money? And we're shopping in markets where we're going for prospects, and we always have been. We're always hoping to uncover a diamond from nowhere. And I think when you're trying to do that, you always have failed signings. Look at some of the top clubs, for God's sake. There's 15 of them in every squad.
Yeah,
it's like you take
we can't afford to make those mistakes, can we? We're in a similar ilk to it's not fair the market that we shop in. We're not able to make that one punt that goes wrong because we've been paying for Brewster financially. I don't mean literally paying. I mean paying the price in terms of struggling financially because of signings like Brewster. And I get that, we could talk all night about these sort of things, couldn't we? And I will move it on, but I think you make some really valid points, and this is what this is all about, isn't it?
Is arguably. Well, yeah, Archer's still a prospect, isn't he? Because Villa are a good side. Let's not have it wrong. He's still a prospect. We're still rolling the dice with him. Hamer was arguably the best midfielder in the Championship, and we're just hoping that he can bridge that gap for us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but they're the sort of signings we should be making. In my estimation, Hamer and Archer are the sort of signings we should be making. Those absolute standouts in the Championship that are, likely to make it at the top level. If it's not with us, you wouldn't think that Cameron Archer goes back down to the Championship. I don't think he certainly doesn't with us because that's part of the deal. But I think while I'd be sad to lose Cameron Archer, as you will all know, I think it's a smart deal for the club financially. So we're not tied into paying another 15 million over 3 seasons and things of that nature. So yeah,
before January hits us, what do you think to these signings, Traore and Slimani? You can deem as prospects, because when you saw all the reports and video clips and everything else of them two, you thought, oh, they're good. They're Sheffield United.
Absolutely. Yeah, you did. Yeah,
but Rich will point to our own Billy Sharp, our club legend. If you watched his highlight reel, there's 250 goals with his name on.
Oh yeah,
but they're not Premier League goals because they're not easy. They're not easily scored in the Premier League. And like when Traore looked the business in the Norwegian league or wherever he's from, but there's a reason that we got him for such a cheap price. There's a reason we only played £2 million for Slimani. It's because nobody else is going for him at our level.
But that's where the prospect is. You could sign 10 Traores and one could be like Beto from Everton sort of thing, who's really, I think, a good signing for them. Yeah. They could turn out to be like that, but you just don't know until they rock up at the club, do you?
So if you get 1 out of your 10, you've spent 50 million quid, haven't you? So that's
exactly.
Traore would have been fine as a signing had we signed someone else in that position who was more developed. If you're going to supplement with a couple of those types of signings for the long term, it's fine, but you've got to have brought the quality in that you need for that season ahead.
We were starting Premier League games with Traore and Asula up front, and it's like
exactly, and Traore is not ready. I'm one of them that thinks that he needs to stop at the club. I don't want to get rid of him because he looks good, as in a prospect, but it's one of them that
can't rely on.
Yeah.
So for me, it's how much do we have to spend to improve some of our squad? Because some of our squad are not worth much, really. No. Let's face it, realistically. You've got your Fleck, who can be easily replaced by a younger player, hungrier player. I don't think he'd cost that much. And it's about making marginal gains. I think that's the only thing we can really do is make marginal gains with the budget that we've got. Ultimately, to survive in the Premier League or have a good go at it, I think we do need a change of ownership with somebody that is willing to put the money in. What we're like at the moment is like we're going to Waitrose and we're going straight to the clearance section. That's what we're like, but that's the market we're shopping in.
Yeah.
But for the majority of the squad and for the squad that contracts are expiring at the end of the season, I don't think it would cost that much to replace them with better quality players, younger, hungrier, faster players than what we've got. And that's how I'm looking at it. We've got so many contracts due to be ended. I kind of see next season as more of a clean slate, and that's regardless if we stay up or we go down.
Oh, absolutely it is.
And that's changes coming next season. Because if we go down, we've got the parachute payments. According to Darren Smith and everything else that's been reported, we're going to be in a much better financial position than what we've been before, because the Premiership money has gone in safeguarding the club. More question for me is, why have we not been bought? Are we that unattractive proposition? Something that I'd like to know, because I don't think we're that unattractive. We've got our own ground. We own the ground. We've got a good academy. Why are we entertaining the Dozy and Bossy and the other American guy who's in prison? Why is there no actual solid bids from genuine investors? Is there some financial stuff that we don't know about? And that's the key thing that I think will come out in the wash over the next couple of years.
Or next couple of days, hopefully. We shall see. So, Tim, I'm conscious that you've been very patiently waiting there, and we do like to ramble on this channel, so you'll have to muscle your way in. But I'm going to ask you, mate, do you think the Prince will still be in charge this time next year?
Certainly. Definitely.
Certainly. Right.
Because like you said, because like Jay said, we're not attracting anybody to buy our club. But the only people that we're attracting is people like your beer buddy and Henry Marie.
Your
Well,
buddy,
Tim.
your buddy. He's yours, mate. Own it.
That's fair. Harsh but fair.
Drinking pal.
Evening does
Have
it.
that on your chips, Jay. It's your
Have we got a
fault.
Christmas card from him, Jimmy?
Well, I've got one like collect, so I've got to go to the post office and pay for it. But...
I thought it was coming by Tingo Airlines.
Yeah, maybe it's coming by Tingo, so we'll see. We'll see. I agree. Does anybody think we'll have new ownership this time next year? I don't either.
I can see investment, but I don't see a full takeover.
I think if we accept the fact, and we don't have to do this, by the way, but if I sort of make peace with the facts that we're going down, I think the Prince will stay if we go down, because obviously the price plummets if we're relegated and we're a Championship club as opposed to a Premier League club, even though we've got parachute payments to come. But as a strong Championship side with a great chance of getting back to the Premier League, I think he'll stick around to try and see us there again. And we'll be a much stronger force second time around, having cleared the decks, and we can hopefully rebuild. And this is all, pie in the sky stuff. And it's best case scenario if we're relegated. But I think the Prince staying will largely guarantee that Chris Wilder will stay. Because my next question to you is going to be, do you think Chris Wilder will still be manager this time next year? Paul, I'll go to you, mate.
That'll depend, like you said, on the takeover. So I don't think us as fans, we don't have a Scooby-Doo what's happening behind the scenes. But I think the reason that we haven't had a lot of interest at this point is at the start of the season, we're a Premier League team. That's the status. And we've got a clean slate to go and do something. As we've struggled so badly, the Prince is looking at it going, well, there's a chance we stay up. And that way you can sort of try and ask for a bit more cash. I think while we're in the limbo of we're expected to go down, I don't think we're going to get a deal done over the line. And I think if the Prince stay, like Jimmy just said, I agree with that. If we go down, I think he'll stay because he'll try and get us back to the Premier League before he sells us again. Because I think when we're in this limbo, no one's going to buy us. I think, like you said, as long as the Prince is there, I believe Wilder will be his man and should be his man. I think he's already proved that he should be the man, and I think he will be the man. And again, but if we get new owners in, God knows, because sometimes it's better the devil you know. Because if you
absolutely right, mate.
Look at some teams, who get the wrong owner, which we've nearly had. We've dodged that bullet. Be that by the Prince, be that by the strict rules and the checks, which thank God they did. Thank the Lord that they do that. I just feel like we haven't got a clue who's talking to who, and they'll never tell us until something's on a dotted line either way. So I think we're just guessing. But at this point, I can see why investors would be looking at us going, well, they're likely to be Championship, therefore we want to pay a Championship price. And the Prince will be going, well, we could be Premier League, and therefore maybe we want to be a Premier League price in there. But at this point, I don't see us being flogged until the new ownership would know what they're dealing with. And whether they're dealing
with the Prince there, surely it should be spend money to make money. That's the thing. He's got to give us a chance.
He would have done that in the summer if he were going to do that.
If he had it, yeah.
Has he got that money?
I think they're fair points. I think just in terms of the the EFL testing, I know what you're saying in terms of thank God that they do that, and it was protracted, but they actually didn't find anything wrong with Dozie, which was an absolute shocker. It was the fact that he couldn't complete the transaction and show the money that the deal fell through. It wasn't the testing that got it through. So that's still not a perfect system, unfortunately. But does anybody else think Wilder won't be here next season? And I can remove you from the stream immediately if you want to say yeah. So
I think he needs to be to give us some sustainability. I think he needs to be. I think he needs to be given time to give us that sustainability. We can't be a revolving door. We could easily turn into a Watford. We can't do that. He needs to be given time. He needs to bring the culture of the club back to what it was when he was here before. We're all in it together. Is that Brony? We're all in it together. So he needs to be here. And again, with Cooper coming available, if that happened a couple of weeks before, would we be speaking differently? Maybe, maybe not. But I think Wilder's come in. He's had an instant impact. The behaviours of the players have started to change. And that's the thing. They need to have the correct behaviours. They need to have that blade, grit and passion. Second half against Chelsea, I felt like it looked like we played back for Eckenbottom, if I'm honest with you. That's how it looked to me. I think he needs to be. I definitely think he needs to be here next season. I really do. I just hope he don't spit his dummy out.
I think he'll need getting out of that place with a crowbar. To be honest, I don't think he goes for a long, long time.
Love it, Dave. And I'm not going to reveal where it's come from at the moment. I may be able to later, but I'm just going to read you a portion of a message I got earlier today. Chris is very different to before and after his experiences at Borough and Watford. He's also got that excitement he had pre-COVID. Everyone is in for training early and loving life. That's not the whole message, obviously, but that, for me, says absolute. What we thought we were going to get with Chris Wilder is that the players have bought into him. They know that they're going to have to work hard or they'll be out. That's the absolute minimum expectations as a Blade. And 4 years ago, if we'd have said that, it's like, that's a given. But we haven't been seeing it. We have not been seeing that sort of attitude. So it's brilliant to see. Absolutely brilliant to see.
I was just going to say, on our last round table, we came to the conclusion that Wilder was the only person that going to get us out of this mess. It's proved true, hasn't it?
I agree, Tim. I think we were all of that sort of opinion. It's not about everybody agreeing, but that was a general consensus that we came to. Me and Paul go back and forth sometimes on ownership, and I can certainly see all your points as well, mate. I play devil's advocate to a degree, which I think you get, but it's I think they're always really interesting conversations, and I thank you all again for joining me tonight. The last one I'm going to put to you, the last big question: which key players will or won't be at the club at the end of the season? Who stays at Sheffield United beyond next year? I'm gonna start us off because I've sort of said already. I think we're going to go. Cameron Archer leaves, unfortunately, and leaves a gaping hole at the top of the pitch, in my estimation. But who else do you think? We've got a lot of players out of contracts, like Jay's talked about. Your John Egan's, George Baldocks, Ollie McBurnie, Ollie Norwood, John Fleck, Ben Osborne. The list goes on of players. Wes Fodringham, Adam Davis. Would you like to keep, if we can? If we're staying up or we're going to be relegated? I think, for example, Norwood's much more chance of staying at the club if we're relegated for another season. If we survive, I think he's gone. So there'll be players like that, but there'll also be players like Gus Hamer who might go if we're relegated, but he's a player we can start to build around if we stay up. So what's your thoughts, lads? Who wants to go first?
Keep Hamer. Lose Norwood.
Yeah.
Keep Baldock.
Yeah.
Lose. The way I feel at the moment, I won't be upset if we lost McBurnie, Egan, Osborne,
Fleck.
Well, that's a given.
Fleck's gone. Fleck's gone.
I think Fleck gets paid off in January anyway.
Yeah.
I'm going to make him a McAtee mask and drop him off at City Ground at end of season and see if he can get through.
All right, let's put it a different way. Then. Who's the player that's coming out of contracts that we need to keep?
Baldock.
Yes,
it depends in which league we're in, because again, as I've seen quite a few people say, his age, his international career in Greece, would he stay with Sheffield United next season if we get relegated? Love him too, but I don't think he will. personally.
He's not going to go to Greece, is he, though? Come on.
I don't think he'll
I
go
agree.
to Greece now. I don't think he'll go
Jay,
to Greece.
I think he might. I think he might. There's Champions League interest from Greece, and that prolongs his international career. And it's not the standard that he's been playing in, obviously, in terms of the Greek league, but Champions League football and retaining your international career. I just hope Chris Wilder could have a big part to play in George Baldock possibly staying with us, no matter what league we're in next year, and he would be mine as well. I agree with that.
I would keep Egan.
He's had his time with us now. He needs a fresh challenge for himself. I think he's had his time with us now. I think the performances before he got injured this season were very lackluster.
I agree with that.
Again, the effort wasn't there, which we can say for a lot of players, but he was club captain. He should have taken it on himself to help motivate those players and give everything on the pitch. And for me, I think he's had his time and he's ready for a fresh start himself.
Big call, that. Big call. I'm not saying you're wrong either, Jay, but
I think he was bewildered by what he was being asked to do. We've heard bits and bobs about the instructions were in terms of defending, and we had a bit of chat about it in the last round. Yeah, in the last round table, I was saying things like, I don't know how you teach people to want to win a header. I don't know how you teach people to do that. They should be able to do that, and they've done that. I think there's been instructions to mark zones and do bits of it.
Absolutely right.
None of them were comfortable with, and I think Egan has earned the opportunity to still be part of this club because of what and where he's come from with us and how he's risen with us. I think on the others, I think like you say, Archer's just obvious because that's already in the stars. But I think it depends who wants him because we've got a few saleable assets in that George needs to sign a contract to be saleable. In Vinny Souza, Anel and Hamer, there are 3 saleables. And basically, I think we'll lose one of those plus Archer if we go down. I don't think they'll want to lose any of the others because they won't have to. I think they'll try and sell one of those, and it'll depend who comes with the money. And I think we'd need 20 million for Hamer, and if someone comes and pays it, I think they'd move him on. I don't want him to go. I think he's what we should be building the whole team around. I think if someone come for 12 to 15 for Souza, I think he might go. I think if someone come for 10 plus for Anel, I think he might go as well. And I just think it would be one of those that would leave.
Who would you prefer, Paul?
The style we play at the minute, I'd say Anel would be the one that would be the one that I'd go. I think Souza could go with him, could go as well as him. I think Hamer's the one we've got to try and keep because I think he's the key player for us if we go down. I think he'd stay as well. I think we've got him on a nice big contract. I think someone would have to pay one hell of a bill to get him out the club. I don't think they would at the minute. I don't think he's quite. I don't see.
I agree.
Who's going to come and pay 20+ million for him at this point? Do I think he might be worth it to us in the future? Yes, I do. I think he's fantastic. But Souza and Anel, Souza's picked up a little bit. Anel might be one who goes, do you know what? I'd like to go maybe.
Would you keep Bogle? Because Bogle's contract's up.
I'd definitely offer Bogle a contract because I think he's shown more than he's shown before in the last couple of games. But also, I think he's still got room to improve. And I think at the Championship, he's a really, really good either first or second option. I think we could get promoted with him in our team from the Championship. And if we were staying in the Premier League, I think he'd be a really good backup defender. Potentially, I think he's still got potential. If he's been defending a lot better. He's been
a different player, hasn't he? The last couple of games, he's been a total different player.
Jay, sometimes players like him, they just need to be reminded of the basics and what he needs to do and moving his feet and his body position and a few things defensively. I think he's been great the last few games. I mean, I saw Jimmy's team and he put Baldock back in, and I thought, I love Baldock, and but I do feel like Bogle's definitely worth a share. I do not see Bogle getting turfed out of this team.
I think that's something we've been lacking is competition for places. That's something that we definitely need. There's no competition. For example, Wes, there is no competition.
They're arguably the strongest two. They're arguably the one you go.
Yeah, they are.
Sure. I think they're the only one where you go, I'm not really sure what to do with that because he deserves it and we think he's better, but he deserves it. How many of us can we say that about?
When Egan's fit again, I think we'll probably be having that about him and Robinson at the minute, just because of the way Jack Robinson's playing and he splits opinion. Egan's split opinion himself this season, so I think there'll be a battle between them two, because I think you'll have to... Anel, whose form hasn't been great, I think would have to drop through the floor to be dropped, because I think we just see that much in him as a saleable asset, like you were saying. Tim, I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to ask everybody the same question, but I'm coming to you first. One player, would you keep him or would you let him go? Ollie McBurnie.
Oh, I'd let him go. I'd let him go because he's not shown anything at all, I don't think, this season. Not at all.
Okay. Dave?
For the minute, I'd probably let him go. What would I? I honestly don't know, because it's the hardest. It feels like it's the hardest position to fill.
Does he fill you with confidence every time he pulls a shirt on that he's going to...
Well, no, because you don't know if he's going to get injured or not. But there's games we plays and he's brilliant and he just makes everything tick. And then there's others where he does stupid stuff, or he's suspended, or he's injured. So reliability is a concern for me. But if he goes, Archer goes, we're left with Brewster, Asula, we'll likely lose Jebison, Traore, and that's probably...
We'd have to replace him, wouldn't you? Yeah, you'd have to replace him. But it's so weird, I suppose, he's walking out for no, isn't he? So...
And then going out and, it's what we've got to spend, and there's going to... can't think of anyone we'll be able to go out and get who you think they guarantee us goals.
Rich?
McBurnie's not guaranteeing us goals, is he?
No, he ain't.
He's guaranteeing us a certain number, maybe not a high number in Championship, but I thought goals and goal contributions,
he got 15 last year.
The right person alongside him, he does a lot for them.
I personally would keep McBurnie, either if we go down or stay up, but I would want someone to push him, because he's a bit like Wes. He knows that he's the main striker at the club.
Yeah, Wilder's a big fan, isn't he, as well, and McBurnie.
Yeah, he's a Wilder player, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's somebody who can break down someone's Achilles quite subtly and all the rest of it. And
don't know what you mean.
Let's face it. I know he's a striker, but his defending as well has sort of helped us out as well.
Absolutely,
that's true. You keep him, Paul.
Yeah, I do, because at this point in time, if we play 14 players in a match day squad, he's fit, he plays. Unless we replaced him with one or two, we can't rely on kids. And I don't in the Championship. He's an experienced Championship striker. He has injury problems. He had a good season last season. I'm not saying he's a Premier League striker, because if we want to survive in the Premier League, I think he's a decent option off the bench, because he offers you something different. I think his form is very, very, very inconsistent. I think one day he comes on and we're all eulogising him, telling us... We were talking about him for captain on here not that long ago.
Yeah, we were.
Because of his spirit and what he brings to the game. And he came off the bench and just completely changed the game for us not that long ago. And everyone was like, gosh, he's a big miss for us. He's been really good. Man United, that's right. And I think that he's worth, at the minute, to us, definitely offering a new deal, because if he could go for nothing. That's the first thing. And I think at the Championship level, if we had him as part of a three-man strike force, he's enough to get us promoted, and I think we proved that. So I think we have to offer him a deal. I can't imagine a scenario where we don't. I don't think because he's had a bad game, we've done something pretty stupid, that we're all of a sudden going, oh, he's injured, he's not good enough. I think he's definitely a Sheffield United player, and most of the time he's pretty good. And I think we get what we pay for, again, because we've got an inconsistent striker who's a match winner on his day, but also a complete liability from time to time. And we've known that about him, I think, for a long time. But at least he does leave it all out there, Tim, and he does put himself about, and even with his sendings off, which I think stupid, the second one, because if you've been done for it once, I think it is stupid and it's naive. But he's pulverised teams before, and like we said, he comes on sometimes and plays sometimes, and we think he's the best player on our team. So I think we have to offer him a deal.
What I would say about McBurnie, when you think about the younger players that we've been bringing through, he's been the one that's been the person to put their arm around them, and
like a McAfee. Yeah.
he's done a good job in that respect.
Yeah. I think he seems to have let himself down at the wrong time, really, because he comes out and he's the one that stuck his head above parapet when things were really difficult. He was the one to say we need to be better. He said all right things, but it just sounded like he'd matured and he'd sort of taken on a bit more responsibility in dressing room. And then he goes and gets daft sendings off, and you think you're letting us down here with that petulant behaviour. So, what do you think, Jay? What do you think, mate?
Well, in regards to the sending off, yeah, the elbows, that were daft. That were purely, utterly daft. But the other one with the second yellow for when he pulled my shirt, I don't think anybody can hold that against him at all. His injury record hasn't been the best. But am I right in saying his injury record hasn't been the best under Hecky and his team? Under Wilder before?
Yeah, maybe so, yeah.
So maybe again with the different training techniques, workloads, etc., we might see a much fitter McBurnie. For me, again, he epitomises what Sheffield United is. He runs. He's very, very good defensively. When those balls are getting whipped in and he's in the box, 9 times out of 10 it's his head. And that's even with Mark Hudson involved. It was still his head on that ball. He's very good at hold-up play. I think he will find form again, and I think he does deserve another contract. I would definitely keep him, and that's regardless if we go up, we stay down. I think he will mature more in front of Wilder, because I don't think Wilder would accept as much petulance and silliness and getting sent off at wrong reasons. So I do think he'll mature even more. And I think, again, come this time next season, if we have the same conversation and he's still worse, I think we will be glad. I think he's got a lot to show and a lot to prove.
I completely agree, mate, to be honest. I think for me, I keep him. I would, for a couple of reasons. We're protecting the asset, really. We're not letting him walk out for free. And if we tie him up on a 3-year deal, then even if he bombs again next season, or I say again, that's harsh, but even if he bombs next season or don't get going for him or whatever, if you get £2 million for him, then it's at least getting some sort of return on your investment. But also, a little bit like Paul said, if he's fit at the minute, he gets in our team. Because we are that thin on the ground for quality. Yes, he's very hit and miss and so frustrating at times to watch, but he does a job for the team. And at the minute, because we're that thin, I think we need to retain the better players in the squad, and I think he's up there with that as well. So the final thing I'm going to ask you today, lads, it is our sort of end of year, calendar year celebrations. What are your New Year's resolutions for Sheffield United? This can be anything. What do you want for United over the next year? It can be short, medium, long-term goals. Jay, I'll come to you first, mate. Come to you last, so I'll come to you first this time.
I've got 2. Sign McAtee. Don't care how you do it, what you've got to do, just sign McAtee, which ain't going to happen. For me, the long-term aims, I think it's looking after the youth, tying down the youth contracts and not turning into a selling club like we were previously. We've got so many good youth players, just like Paul said. That, for me, is the priority, is safeguard the club for the next 4, 5, 6 years. So we're not having to raid the transfer market as much. Maybe we can get a good return on investment instead of just letting them go like we've always done in the past. So for me, it's Cat 1 status. That needs to be long-term. We need that. Yeah. But also, let's tie down these youths and give them good contracts. Give them contracts that compete with the rest of the team.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. I think we don't want another Illiman and Die situation on his hands, do we? Player coming into the last year of his contract, valuable asset.
He's coming back.
That's a whole new conversation. We ain't got time for that one. But Paul, what's your thoughts going into next year, mate?
Fully agree with it. Fully agree with that, Jay. I think. Fully agree with the youth players. From a club point of view, they've got to get the hotel open again and get stuff built, and the training ground that's been dragging on. I think that's something that if we're going to get good players coming through the door, if we're going to be Cat 1, so we can keep some of these young lads and maybe build on what we've already got, we've got to go and do that. So I fully agree. The dream, and if this happens for the new owners, is to do a deal, buy the land, redevelop the club, get the south stand, I saw plans for that about 2 or 3 years ago that I really thought, that looks amazing, exciting.
I might think the same ones, yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw those plans and I was like, that looks so good, because at the minute it's dated, it's old, and I think from a logistics point of view, that's what I want. And in terms of the young players, I think that's got to be from the playing side. We need to get 5 or 6 of these lads into the team, into the squad. And that's kind of what I alluded to with going down, because I believe more of them would get a shot supporting some of our better players in the Championship if we went down. I believe if we do remain in the Premier League, there's a decent chance that we lose 90% of those players and their careers do this rather than this, because we've already seen, you give them an opportunity. Yes, I think Brooks was poor at Chelsea, but that's what you get with youth players, isn't it? And
yeah,
I think he's proved that bravery, and we need him to have that opportunity. They need to believe it. A lot of football's up here, and I think we underestimate that sometimes. A load of them have got ability that could go and flourish and thrive, but they need opportunities and need to start believing it. And I feel like if we went down, I think like 3 or 4 more of them would get that chance to do that.
Love that, mate. Rich, what's your thoughts?
I think if we are still in with a shout at staying up on the 19th of May, that will be my resolution, that we're still in the fight to stop in the Premier League. That's what I want. There'll be lows, there'll be highs, but I just want to be still in with a shout last game of the season. Might not help. That might, last day drama again like we had with Wigan, but I hope one of these days we'll actually be celebrating rather than crying in a pint of John Smith's or Guinness or whatever your tipple is.
I think it. I've gone off Guinness.
Like a top for you, Jimmy.
Yeah. Thanks, mate. What does Prince Abdullah drink? I don't think he drinks, does he? So yeah, I'll just.
We know what Chrissy drinks. We know what.
Yeah. I'll go on it. Tim, what are your New Year's resolutions for Sheffield United for next year?
Well, mine's a bit different, actually. Mine are more off the pitch, shall we say.
That's all right. That's all right.
I think we need to make sure that we've got continued financial stability with a long-term plan to keep us that way. Just leave it at that.
Dave, last but not least, of course, mate. What's your thoughts on Sheffield United? What's your hopes for us next year?
So off the pitch, I really want them to sort the water pressure out on the John Street stand toilet.
Hot water would be nice.
Yeah, at the end of the game as well as at the start.
Oh, beginning.
Need to add that to my interview note.
Please do. I think just to echo some of the points on youth, I think we need to get the kids in and around the team. But if we're not going to be able to do that, get them out on loan. Don't just keep them hanging around like we have done in the past. So the development's stunted. Let's get them out playing proper football, really learning the craft with a proper plan to get them integrated into the team. Because some great players that I know of that have come through and have never had the opportunity to really forge a great career or even get near playing for United. And I don't want that to happen going forward. I want them to get a chance to go out and play and prove they can do it and then come into our team. So we don't have to keep going out and taking punts on your Brewsters and the like. We're developing them in now.
Mate. And they've got to play at a decent level as well. I think I was saying this on a recent Ramble, I think, that I understood why we did it in terms of sending some lads to the National League, because our squad were that thin. We had to have that recall clause. But how much development are Zach Brunt and George Broadbent and Femi Siriki going to get by playing at National League? Whereas you look at somebody like Brooks now, sink or swim in the Prem. And it might not have paid off. He might have been overwhelmed, but I think like we've said, he's shown enough over the last 3 games to say that he can at least compete and be involved in the squad for some stage. And whether that results in him in January going out and playing half a season in Championship for somebody, but at least he's starting week in, week out, then that might be good for everybody. But at least he's playing at a good level rather than lower down. I completely agree with that in terms of loading our youngsters out and getting most out of them. So, lads, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I can't thank you enough. I think this, for me, is what it's all about. And we don't do enough round tables. I think getting everybody together and finding the time isn't always easy, but you've come together at short notice for me tonight, and I really appreciate it. Obviously, it's a busy time for everybody, isn't it? So thank you for joining me. The main thing I want to say to you, though, is thank you and the rest of the Ramblers and everybody that's supported the channel over the last 12 months. It's been absolutely unbelievable. And without you guys, and I know we've had a laugh tonight, and I'll, give me some stick about my Nigerian friend, but I really do appreciate the support that you give me. It's great. It's absolutely brilliant. I also want to shout out Action Coach Sheffield, who have been a huge sponsor and a huge help. Thank you, John, for all your support this year, mate. Tim Vaughan Spencer from TVS Copy, thank you for your support, mate. Very much appreciated. High Point Access Limited, a new sponsor for us, Carly and Simon. Thank you very much for your support. Paul Nicholson of PNUK, a real big help to the Ramble in the earlier days, and still obviously there whenever I come to you for any tweaks or anything, queries that I've got. Really appreciate you being there. And Michael J. Needham, thank you as well, mate, for your support. It's all very much appreciated. The Ramblers, that is the best thing to come out of this whole thing is getting to do this with you guys. So thank you again for your support. I wish you all a very Merry Christmas, lads. Come on, you red and white wizards.
Up the blades!
Blade.
Up the blades!
Up the blades!